Andrew Huberman says most people fail at their goals because they're trying to solve a neurology problem with motivation. They think they need to feel inspired, visualize success, believe harder. But your brain has 4 specific areas that either work together or you waste years chasing the same goals. And feeling motivated is not one of them. This week I watched Andrew Huberman on Huberman Lab Essentials talking about the science of goal setting. And before we start, here's the deal. I'm not here to sell you hope. I'm not here to tell you that you can achieve anything if you just visualize it hard enough. I'm here to show you what your brain actually needs to pursue a goal, not what feels good, what works. If that's uncomfortable, good. That means it's real. Most people are trying to feel motivated when they should be training their visual system. They're trying to visualize success when they should be visualizing failure. And the next 5 lessons will show you exactly what works. Lesson 1. Your brain doesn't care about your goal. It cares about value. Huberman explains that there's one neurotransmitter that governs everything about goal setting, assessment, and pursuit. Dopamine. It's not about pleasure, it's about value. Your brain is constantly asking, is this worth pursuing or not? And here's the problem. Most people never clearly define the value. They just say, I want to lose weight, or I want to make more money. That's not a goal, that's a wish. Your dopamine system can't work with that. It needs specificity. It needs to know, what exactly am I assessing here? He describes those 4 brain areas working together. They're all asking the same question. What's the value of this pursuit right now? The amygdala is checking for threats, the basal ganglia is deciding whether to act, the prefrontal cortex is planning the steps, the orbitofrontal cortex is comparing your current state to where you think you'll be when you reach the goal. If you can't answer clearly what the value is, your brain defaults to inaction. Not because you're lazy, because it's efficient. Why waste energy on something with unclear value? Write down one goal you've been avoiding. Then write 2 sentences. What's the measurable outcome, and what's one specific action you'll take this week? If you can't write it in 2 sentences, you don't have a goal, you have a fantasy.
Dopamine is often thought of as the molecule of pleasure and reward, but actually it is the molecule of motivation. This is best illustrated by a classic set of studies that have been carried out in both animals and in humans. The animal study can be described the following way. 2 rats, each in a separate cage. You can provide those rats with the opportunity to indulge in something that they like food or mating or heat if it's cold in the environment, or a cool spot in the cage if it's warm in the environment, and so forth. And what you find is that rats will very readily approach the rewarding thing. They will mate, they will eat, they will pursue something that is of pleasure. Now, if you are to take one of those rats and deplete its dopamine neurons, you can eliminate its dopamine neurons or block dopamine in the brain. What you find is that those animals will still enjoy pleasure. However, their motivation to achieve pleasure is vastly reduced. In fact, if you place the item of pleasure, the mate, the food, etc., even just 1 rat's length away from that rat, the rat without dopamine will not even move 1 length of its own body in order to achieve that pleasure. And there are naturally occurring experiments in humans that mimic that result very accurately.
Lesson 2. Go and no-go are equally important. Huberman talks about the basal ganglia having 2 circuits. One is the go circuit. It gets you to do things. Run 5 miles, start the business, make the call. The other is the no-go circuit. It stops you from doing things. Don't eat the second cookie. Don't check your phone. Don't say yes to one more commitment. Most people only focus on the go circuit. They think discipline is about forcing yourself to do more. But Huberman makes it clear, the no-go circuit is just as critical, maybe more critical. Because every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. Every time you scroll, you're not writing. Every time you eat the thing you know you shouldn't, you're training your no-go circuit to fail. And here's what nobody tells you. The no-go circuit gets weaker with every failure. It's not about willpower running out, it's about neural pathways. You're literally training your brain that the no-go signal doesn't matter. Pick one thing you're going to stop doing this week. Not reduce, stop. Write it down. Put it somewhere you'll see it every day. And when you fail, because you will, write down why. Not to feel bad, to see the pattern.
Another circuit within the basal ganglia is a no-go circuit. It's the one that says, no, I'm not going to go for the second cookie or the third cookie. I'm not going to eat that. And then the go circuit would be the one that's responsible for instead eating something else. Okay, so we have go and no-go circuits within the basal ganglia. So we've got amygdala, so think of as kind of fear and anxiety and avoidance. We've got the basal ganglia, which are for initiating action and preventing action.
Lesson 3. Visualize failure, not success. This one flips everything you've heard about visualization. Huberman says forecasting failure is more effective than forecasting success. Why? Because when you visualize success, you're activating the reward system prematurely. Your brain gets a dopamine hit from imagining the outcome, which feels good, but it also reduces your motivation to actually do the work. When you visualize failure, you're doing something different. You're identifying obstacles. You're preparing your brain for what could go wrong. And that activates problem-solving circuits. It forces you to think, what will I do when this happens? Not if, when. Most people avoid thinking about failure because it feels bad. But feeling bad isn't the problem. Being unprepared is the problem. Huberman isn't saying don't have a vision. He's saying your vision needs to include the hard parts, the moments you'll want to quit, the obstacles you'll face, the discomfort you'll feel. Because if you don't prepare for those, your brain will treat them as unexpected threats, and threats trigger avoidance. Take your goal from lesson 1. Write down 3 specific things that could stop you. Not vague things like lack of time, specific things. Then write 1 sentence for each, what you'll do when it happens. If you can't think of 3 obstacles, you haven't thought hard enough.
And so while I'd love to be able to tell you that all you should think about is rainbows and puppies and all the wonderful, rewarding things that are going to happen when you achieve your goals, the truth is you should be thinking mainly about how bad it's really going to get if you don't do it, how disappointing yourself you're going to feel, how it will negatively impact you, if not in the immediate term, in the long term, if indeed your goal is to reach your goal. And the more specific you can get by writing down or thinking about or talking about how bad it will be if you don't achieve your goals, the more likely you are to achieve those goals. If you're going to visualize in a positive way, do that at the very beginning of some goal pursuit. Maybe intermittently, every once in a while, you imagine the big win of, scoring perfect on an exam or winning the championship or the great relationship. But most of the time, if you want to be effective, you should be focusing on avoiding failure, and you should be really clear about what those failures would look like and feel like.
Lesson 4. Your visual system determines how you experience time. This is where it gets practical. Huberman describes something he calls space-time bridging. It's a 90-second to 3-minute practice that uses your visual system to train your brain to think across different timescales. Here's how it works. You close your eyes and focus on your internal landscape, your breathing, your heartbeat, for 3 breaths. Then you open your eyes and focus on something close to you, a spot on the floor, the corner of your desk, for 3 breaths. Then you shift your focus to something further away, across the room, for 3 breaths. Then you look as far as you can, the horizon, something in the distance, for 3 breaths. Then you expand your vision, not focusing on one point, but trying to see as much of the visual field as possible, for 3 breaths. Then you close your eyes and return to your internal state, 3 more breaths. Why does this matter? Because when you focus internally or on things close to you, your brain slices time very finely, seconds, breaths, heartbeats. But when you focus externally on things far away, your brain expands time. It starts thinking in hours, days, weeks. And goals require both. You need to focus on the immediate action, and you need to hold the long-term vision. Most people can't do both. They get stuck in one or the other. This practice trains your brain to switch between them deliberately. Do this practice once, right now, 90 seconds. Close your eyes, focus on your breath for 3 breaths. Open your eyes, focus close for 3 breaths. Focus far for 3 breaths. Focus on the horizon for 3 breaths. Expand your vision for 3 breaths. Close your eyes and return to internal for 3 breaths. If it feels stupid, good. That means you're doing something your brain isn't used to.
And what they did is they had a group of people exercise wearing 15-pound ankle weights, and they had to basically move a certain distance or run a certain distance to reach a goal line. One group was focused on the goal line, visually focused on the goal line. The other group was not told to visually focus on the goal line. And what they found was that the group that focused on the goal line was able to achieve reaching that goal with 17% less effort, and it got there 23% quicker. Simply by looking at the goal line does something to the psychology and physiology of these people that allows them to move forward with less perceived effort and to do it more quickly.
Lesson 5. Milestones matter more than the goal. Huberman emphasizes something most people ignore. The long-term goal is almost useless without clear milestones, because your dopamine system doesn't care about something 6 months or a year away. It cares about what's happening now and what's happening soon. So you need to break the goal into pieces, not just any pieces, specific milestones that you can assess. Did I do this or not? Not, am I making progress? That's too vague. Your brain needs binary feedback, yes or no. And here's the part nobody wants to hear. The reward schedule matters. Huberman says intermittent, random rewards are the most effective. Not rewards every week, not rewards when you feel like it. Random. Why? Because your brain learns faster when it doesn't know when the reward is coming. It stays alert. It stays engaged. Predictable rewards create complacency. But you can't control when external rewards come. So you focus on the milestones. You set them, you assess them honestly, and you update your approach based on what's actually happening, not based on how you feel, based on the data. Take your goal, break it into 3 milestones. Write down the date you'll assess each one. Not complete, assess. Then write down 1 metric for each milestone, something you can measure, not feel better. A number, a yes or no, something your brain can actually evaluate.
If we anticipate something positive is going to happen, and then that thing happens, we experience dopamine as part of the anticipation. So even before we get the reward, there's an increase in dopamine. It's not as high as it would be if something really novel and unexpected and positive happened, but we do get an increase in dopamine. And then when we actually experience the reward, we experience the positive thing, there's a smaller increase in dopamine. Okay, so again, the biggest increases in dopamine are response to things that are positive and unexpected. Lesser dopamine is released when we anticipate something good will happen. And when that happens, yes, we get some dopamine, and we also get some dopamine when the positive thing happens. There's also the case in which we predict that something good will happen. When that happens, there's an increase in dopamine, just as there was before. But then if that thing doesn't happen, for instance, our friends don't show up for dinner, then there's a drop in dopamine below our initial baseline. That drop in dopamine is the chemical essence of what we call disappointment.
So here's the thing about Andrew Huberman. Before he was a Stanford professor teaching millions of people about neuroscience, he was an 18-year-old skateboarder squatting in an abandoned apartment with a pet ferret. July 4th, 1994, Huberman's girlfriend had just broken up with him. He went to a barbecue at a friend's house. 4 guys were robbing the place. His friends ran. He stayed and fought. Knives came out, bottles, the kind of situation where you realize things could go very wrong very fast. The police showed up, and because the guys were robbing the house, the cops congratulated him. One officer said, "Nice work." Huberman walked back to the squat where he was living. No rent, no furniture, just him and his ferret. And he had this moment where he thought, I'm officially a loser. He was barely scraping through college. He wasn't good at skateboarding. He wasn't a musician. He knew how to do essentially nothing well. And he figured he'd end up dead or in jail like a lot of his friends. So he wrote a letter to his parents. He said he was going to turn his life around. He realized he was good at one thing: memorizing stuff. which meant maybe he could survive med school. He enrolled back at UCSB, stopped partying, started training, started studying like a maniac, got his master's at Berkeley, PhD at UC Davis, became a professor at Stanford, and now he's got one of the biggest health podcasts in the world, 5.9 million YouTube subscribers, teaching neuroscience to millions of people. Same guy who is living in a squat with a ferret. That's Andrew Huberman. Your brain has 4 areas that need to work together for you to achieve any goal: anxiety, action, planning, emotion. They're not optional. They're not motivational. They're neurological. And you can either train them deliberately, or you can keep hoping motivation shows up one day. One of those works, the other doesn't. 1 year from now, you'll either have clear milestones you've hit, or you'll have a list of reasons why you couldn't. There's no third option. The neuroscience doesn't care about your excuses. Subscribe if you're done waiting for motivation to save you. And if you want to go deeper into what Huberman actually does, not just what he teaches, but the exact protocols he follows daily, check out his book in the description, Protocols, an operating manual for the human body. It's everything we talked about today, plus the step-by-step routines for sleep, focus, exercise, stress management, all grounded in the same neuroscience that turned a guy living in a squat with a ferret into a Stanford professor. It's not motivational content, it's an instruction manual, which is exactly what your brain needs if you're serious about this. Comment below one milestone you're setting this week, not the big goal, the milestone. Check the description for the original interview.